an Indian Army officer, despite leading his battalion to capture a key point while fighting the Japanese during World War II in Burma, got gravely wounded. The doctor refused to treat him as his chances of survival were low and wanted to focus on soldiers he could save. But Mahar Singh, the officer's orderly, forced the doctor. When the doctor asked the soldier what happened to him, he replied that he was kicked by a mule. Upon hearing that, the doctor replied, "By Jove, you have a sense of humor. I think you are worth saving." That Indian Army officer was none other than Sam Framji Jamshedji Manekshaw, fondly known as Sam Bahadur, a man whose valor and wit were as legendary as his military acumen. Born on April 3, 1914, to Hormiz Manekshaw and Hilameta in Amritsar, Sam Manekshaw was the fifth of 6 children. Manekshaw wanted to become a doctor and asked his father to send him to London to study medicine, but his father refused on the grounds that he was not old enough. In addition, he was already supporting the studies of Manekshaw's 2 elder brothers, both of whom were studying engineering in London. In the meantime, the Indian Military College Committee, which was set up in 1931 and chaired by Field Marshal Sir Philip Chetwode, recommended the establishment of a military academy in India to train Indians for officer commissions in the army. In an act of rebellion against his father's refusal to send him to London, Manekshaw applied for a place and sat the entrance exams in Delhi. On 1 October 1932, he was one of the 15 cadets to be selected through open competition. Manekshaw placed 6th in the order of merit. Upon Sam Manekshaw's commissioning on February 4, 1935, he was posted to the 2nd Battalion, Royal Scots, as it was standard practice to be posted in a British unit before being sent to an Indian unit. He was later posted to the 12th Frontier Force Regiment, stationed in Burma, where he was appointed as the quartermaster of his company in May 1938. Already fluent in Punjabi, Hindi, Urdu, English, and his parental language of Gujarati in October 1938, Manekshaw qualified as a higher standard army interpreter in Pashto. Because of a shortage of qualified officers on the outbreak of war in the first 2 years of the conflict, Manekshaw was appointed to the acting or temporary ranks of captain and major before promotion to substantive captain on the 4th of February 1942. We already saw his valor during World War II in Burma, where he led his troops to capture a key position around Pagoda Hill despite suffering 50% casualties. Witnessing his immense valor and courage on the battlefield, the commander of the 17th Infantry Division, Major General David Cowan, quickly adorned Manekshaw with his own military cross ribbon, remarking that the honor couldn't be bestowed posthumously, thinking Manekshaw will succumb to the grave injuries he sustained. This act of recognition was later formalized when it was officially recorded in a supplement to the London Gazette on April 21, 1942, with the publication date noted as April 23, 1942. Despite his injuries, Manekshaw survived due to the action of his orderly Mahar Singh, as we already saw. Manekshaw played an important role during the partition of India. He was posted in MO Directorate, which oversaw accession of Kashmir to India and annexation of the princely state of Hyderabad. During his term at the MO Directorate, he was promoted to colonel, then brigadier, when he was appointed as the first Indian Director of Military Operations. This appointment was later upgraded to Major General and then to Lieutenant General. But even a man of Manekshaw's stature had his ups and downs. There was a time when Manekshaw was termed as anti-national and was charged with sedition and subjected to a court of inquiry. To delve more into this, we need to know another man, Krishna Menon, the then Defence Minister of India. During a visit to Manekshaw's division, Menon asked him what he thought of Timaya. Manekshaw replied that it was not appropriate for him to think of his chief in that way, as he considered it improper to evaluate his superior, and told Menon not to ask anybody again. This annoyed Menon, and he told Manekshaw that if he wanted to, he could sack Timaya, to which Manekshaw replied, "You can get rid of him, but then I will get another." This strained Manekshaw's relationship with Menon. Menon, using his power, promoted Major General Brij Mohan Kaul to Lieutenant General. The appointment was made against the recommendation of Timaya, who resigned as a result. Kaul was then made the Chief of General Staff. Kaul cultivated a close relationship with Nehru and Menon and became even more powerful than the Coace. This was met with disapproval by senior army officials, including Manekshaw, who made derogatory comments about the interference of the political leadership in the administration of the army. This led him to be marked as an anti-national. Kaul sent informers to spy on Manekshaw, who, as a result of the information gathered, was charged with sedition and subjected to a court of inquiry. It was widely believed that Manekshaw had come close to being dismissed from the service, but the court, presided over by Lieutenant General Daulat Singh, known for his integrity, exonerated Manekshaw. During this time, the Sino-Indian War broke out. Manekshaw was not able to participate because of the court proceedings. The Indian Army suffered a debacle in the war, for which Kaul and Menon were held primarily responsible, and both were sacked. In November 1962, Nehru asked Manekshaw to take over the command of IV Corps. Manekshaw told Nehru that the court action against him was a conspiracy and that his promotion had been due for almost 18 months. Nehru apologized. Shortly after, on the 2nd of December 1962, Manekshaw was promoted to acting lieutenant general and appointed GOC of IV Corps at Tezpur, Assam. Manekshaw spent the next years of his service working in Northeast, improving the morale and conditions of the troops after the debacle of 1962. In the Northeast, Manekshaw also worked to fight with insurgency, especially in Nagaland, for which he was awarded Padma Bhushan in 1968. Soon after, Manekshaw was appointed as the 8th Chief of the Army Staff on the 8th of June 1969. During his tenure, he developed the Indian Army into an efficient instrument of war and was instrumental in stopping a plan to reserve positions in the army for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Though he was Parsi, a minority group in India, Manekshaw felt that the practice would compromise the ethos of the army and believed that all must be given an equal chance. In the capacity of Coas, Manekshaw once visited a battalion of 8 Gorkha Rifles in July 1969. He asked an orderly if he knew the name of his chief. The orderly replied that he did, and on being asked to name the chief, he said, "Sam Bahadur." This eventually became Manekshaw's nickname. Fast forward, in 1971, the unrest in East Pakistan grew. Pakistani forces launched a fierce campaign to curb the secessionists, the latter including soldiers and police from East Pakistan. In a crucial cabinet meeting towards the end of April, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi questioned General Manekshaw about his readiness for war with Pakistan. Manekshaw highlighted his concerns. Most divisions were deployed elsewhere. Only a handful of tanks were battle-ready, and they faced logistical challenges due to the upcoming monsoon and the concurrent grain harvest. Post-meeting, he offered to resign, but Gandhi refused, seeking his counsel instead. Manekshaw confidently asked for autonomy in handling the conflict and setting its timeline, to which Gandhi agreed, trusting his promise of victory. Sam told her that he would be ready for war by November, by which time the rains would have stopped, the rivers would have receded, and the snow on the mountains would block the Chinese. He wanted a few months to set up his logistics, move the strike divisions to the borders, equip the engineers with bridges to cross the Bengal rivers and canals, move a few tank formations to the west, where holding operations and token intrusive strikes would have to be undertaken, mobilize the northern formations to hold back the Chinese, and get even the medical teams ready. Following the strategy planned by Manekshaw, the army launched several preparatory operations in East Pakistan, including training and equipping the Mukti Bahini, a local militia group of Bengali nationalists. About 3 brigades of regular Bangladeshi troops were trained, and 75,000 guerrillas were trained and equipped with arms and ammunition. These forces were used to harass the Pakistani army stationed in East Pakistan in the lead-up to the war. The war started officially on the 3rd of December 1971, when Pakistani aircraft bombed Indian Air Force bases in the western part of the country. The army headquarters, under Manekshaw's leadership, formulated the ACE strategy to attack from all fronts. 2 corps was to enter from the west, 4 corps from the east, 33 corps from the north, and another battalion providing support from the northeast. The Navy and the Air Force also initiated full-scale operations on both eastern and western fronts. As the war progressed, Pakistan's resistance crumbled. India captured most of the advantageous positions and isolated the Pakistani forces, which started to surrender or withdraw. On the 9th of December 1971, Manekshaw sent the first radio message to Pakistani troops. "Indian forces have surrounded you. Your air force is destroyed. You have no hope of any help from them. Chittagong, Chalna, and Mangla ports are blocked. Nobody can reach you from the sea. Your fate is sealed. The Mukti Bahini and the people are all prepared to take revenge for the atrocities and cruelties you have committed. Why waste lives? Don't you want to go home and be with your children? Do not lose time. There is no disgrace in laying down your arms to a soldier. We will give you the treatment befitting a soldier." Eventually, Pakistani troops surrendered and Bangladesh was liberated. After the war, Manekshaw made the following remarks about General Yahya Khan, the then president of Pakistan. "I waited for 24 years for that check, which never came. Finally, he paid the loan taken in 1947 by giving half of his country." Now, what is Manekshaw talking about? Well, let's go back to the time of partition. Yahya Khan and Sam Manekshaw were together at the time of the partition on the staff of Field Marshal Sir Claude Auchinleck. Both of them were helping with the additional administrative duties that the historical event of the separation brought along with it. Sam Manekshaw owned a vintage bright red James motorcycle that young Major Yahya Khan always fancied to have. He offered to purchase the red motorcycle when the two parted way after the division of India and partition was completed in the year 1947. He promised to send a princely price of Rs 1,000 over from Pakistan as a price for the vintage motorcycle. After reaching Pakistan, he never really got around. Manekshaw finally got a fitting sum for his motorcycle. After the war, Manekshaw was made a Field Marshal, the first of the only 2 to have held that rank. He went on to serve the country till 1973. He was also awarded the Padma Vibhushan in 1972. Because of his popularity among Gorkha soldiers, Nepal feted Manekshaw as an honorary general of the Nepalese army in 1972. In May 2007, Gohar Ayub, the son of Pakistani Field Marshal Ayub Khan, claimed that Manekshaw had sold Indian army secrets to Pakistan during the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965 for 20,000 rupees, but his accusations were dismissed by the Indian Defence Establishment. Manekshaw died of complications from pneumonia at the military hospital in June 2008. Owing to the controversies in which Manekshaw was involved post-retirement, it was reported that his funeral lacked VIP representation, and no national day of mourning was declared, which, while not a breach of protocol, was not customary for a leader of national importance. Despite the controversies, Manekshaw was a brave heart of a nation, a specimen never seen again. Jai Hind.